Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Dr. Kai.dupe. It's October 15th, 2018. Wanted to take a moment to check in. I know it's been a couple weeks, but I've got something to say here that I think I really want to take a few minutes and talk about it. So I'm sitting here in what I thought was going to be sunny Dallas, and ironically, I'm sitting in Dallas. Well, I used to live, by the way. I lived here for over 20 years, and behind me it's just raining and windy and completely bleak. Now I live in Seattle, and my wife was telling me last night it's beautiful in Seattle. But on the bright side, I got to sit in my room and watch the Cowboy game, which I don't normally get to do in Seattle, unless I pay extra for it, and they won. So that was fantastic. I just came in last night from Minnesota, where I attended the inaugural Blacks in Technology Conference. You can see my shirt. And I'm going to talk about that in a second. But what I wanted to mention before that is, my research, coding.while.black, when I interviewed the 15 African-American software developers, one of the findings that came out of that, one of the critical elements that they recommended was needed for success in their recommendation for the next generation of Black software developers and engineers is mentorship, networks. We need a group, we need a place we can go and talk about what we go through in corporate America. We need those who've been out here for a while to help us navigate that landscape, sort of the OGs in the movement, which I consider myself to be one of those. It's critical to have access to that, and most other groups, Asian Americans, Indian Americans, have that to rely on. They have folks schooling them, teaching them on what steps to make and how to avoid so-called pitfalls and meet some of the challenges you're going to face when you embark upon this career. So that's what made this weekend at BitCon so fantastic. There had to be 500 people there, predominantly Black, interacting, exchanging, teaching, learning. I went to several talks where I learned. It was sponsored by Best Buy and Target. So we spent a lot of the time on Target's main headquarters. The CEO of, Best Buy. The CEO of Best Buy spoke. I actually gave a presentation as well on cloud computing. It was first class all the way. But the number one thing that I took from it was how refreshing and inspiring and wonderful it was to not only be speaking about technology to a group of African Americans. The whole room, when I spoke, I had probably 25 people in the room. They were all Black people, all African Americans, talking about tech, looking for opportunities, looking for advice. And the other good thing was the conversation that I was having in my presentation, a lot of these young brothers and sisters were not aware of, they were not hip to, even though they're in tech. So I made that point for sure. And then, like I said, just interacting with folks and learning and connecting with African-American technologists and software developers from all over the world. Plus, we had some fun, of course, right? There was some nighttime activities. But for this to be their first inaugural conference, I wanted to come on here and give them a shout out. Shout out to my boy Greg Greenlee, who's doing a wonderful job. I met Greg 10 years ago when he was just kicking this thing off, and he was actually one of the first folks I had on my podcast back when I was doing my podcast on iTunes around this very same subject of advocacy for the underrepresentation of African Americans in technology. He did a great job. Met a lot of cool people, as I said, a lot of connections, found out about resources I had not heard of, then I was able to spread some love as well. So if you live in an area where you don't have someone to mentor you, or you don't have a network to connect to, there are other groups as well. I think I've mentioned BDPA before. They have chapters, but I have to say I've gone to a lot of conferences, and I've gone to several conferences that are sponsored by African Americans. I've gone to BDPA's conference. I've gone to some things Microsoft has done back in the day. I did one myself, Bitwise, which is more along the lines of, I did that in 2010, and Bitwise was more along the lines of what Greg and BitCon did this past weekend. It was a combination of social and tech. That was the big thing. We discussed technology. There were sessions on cryptocurrency. There were sessions on agile. There were sessions on cloud computing. There were sessions on front-end tooling. There were sessions on how to run your business. There were sessions on how to network the corporate landscape as a black IT professional. It was fantastic. So do yourself a favor, number one, start planning now for next year. I already spoke to Greg, and he's talking about doing it again next year. Number two, find a local chapter of Blacks in Technology in your area. If you can't find that, find BDPA chapter in your area, meetups. And then thirdly, go out and join Blacks in Technology, right? Absolutely, you should be a member, and you can interact and get that mentorship online in the meantime and in between time before they actually kick off next year's conference. So a couple points. One, mentorship networking came out as a critical aspect of my research in terms of how to be successful as an African American in technology. Number two, join Blacks in Technology .net online. Number three, prepare for, start planning for next year, perhaps to attend and or speak. A lot of opportunities to speak. We want to grow this thing. I was talking to Greg. I'm thinking, we should double that. Have at least 1,000 folks next year. Next year, I'll probably participate on some panels as well as give a couple technical talks. So just wanted to check in and make sure I made that point. I'm getting ready to get ready now to go over and speak again. Today I am presenting my research at the National Black Child Development Institute here in Dallas. It started a couple of days ago, but I'm late getting here because of my commitment to BitCon. And I'm speaking today at 3:45 on my research. So I'm looking forward to that. And then it's back to Seattle. So good talking to you guys. Hope this has been helpful for you. I'll put the link to blacksintechnology.net down in the comment section. Please go check out their website as well. You can look online and also see some of the photographs and videos. Some of that stuff was live streamed, some of it was captured on video, so you possibly be able to get some of that content even after the fact. Once again, it's me, your boy, Dr. Kai.dupe, coding while black. See you soon.